Doctors told him he'd never walk again. But 2 years later, he was running a marathon. At just 19 years old, Daniel's life changed in an instant. A car accident left him broken, confined to a wheelchair, and surrounded by doctors who all said the same thing: "You'll never walk again." For most people, that would have been the end of the story. But for Daniel, it was just the beginning. In the months that followed, Daniel sank into despair. He watched his friends chase their dreams while he sat still, staring at the finish line of a race he thought he'd never run. Nights were the hardest, when the silence reminded him of everything he had lost. He felt trapped, not just in his chair, but in his own mind. But deep inside, a spark remained. He refused to let his story end in that chair. And that decision, that refusal to give up, was the first step of his comeback. Daniel started small. At first, he could only lift his legs with his hands. Then, he stood for a few seconds, trembling before collapsing back into the chair. Every day, he pushed a little further. 1 second became 5. 5 became 10. Weeks turned into months. Progress was painfully slow, but Daniel learned something powerful. Resilience isn't built in leaps. It's built in inches. He celebrated every tiny victory, standing for 30 seconds, taking 1 shaky step, then 2. Each milestone was proof that he was stronger than yesterday. 2 years later, Daniel took his first steps without support. They weren't graceful, they weren't fast, but they were his. And with every step, he rewrote the story the doctors had written for him. But Daniel didn't stop there. He set his sights on something bigger, something impossible. He wanted to run a marathon. Friends told him it was crazy. Doctors warned him it was dangerous. But Daniel had already learned that the only limits that matter are the ones you accept. Training was brutal. Every morning before sunrise, Daniel laced up his shoes and pushed his body further than the day before. His legs ached, his lungs burned. There were days he collapsed in exhaustion, questioning if he could keep going. But he remembered the boy in the wheelchair, the boy who once couldn't stand for 10 seconds. And he kept moving. 1 mile became 2. 2 became 5. 5 became 10. Slowly, painfully, Daniel transformed himself into a runner. He wasn't just training his body, he was training his mind. Every step was a reminder: pain is temporary, but quitting lasts forever. On race day, Daniel stood at the starting line, surrounded by thousands of runners. The same boy who once couldn't walk was about to run 26 miles. The journey was grueling. His legs screamed. His body begged him to quit. But every mile was a victory. Over doubt, over pain, over the voice that once told him he couldn't. At mile 20, his body nearly gave out, but then he remembered the hospital bed, the wheelchair, the words, "You'll never walk again." And he pushed forward. And then he saw it, the finish line. As he crossed that line, Daniel proved something to the world and to himself. Limits are only real if you accept them. His story isn't just about running. It's about resilience, about refusing to let circumstances define you, and about the truth that no matter how broken you feel, you can rise step by step until you cross your own finish line. So the next time life tells you you can't, remember Daniel, and remember this: your limits do not define you. Your resilience does. Never give up. Your finish line is waiting.